Oh, there we go. Thanks a million for that.
Oh, son of a bitch.
Welcome to Foundations of Emo, hosted by Claire and Dani. Each episode, we take one of our favourite bands and dive deep into their history and origins, reminiscing on our own emo roots along the way. We're back!
It feels so long.
Well, this is, I think it was 3 weeks between our last 2 episodes, and now it's another 3 weeks before this one. Listen, it's the summer. We're busy people.
Busy people. I'm sure you all are too, so it's fine.
I mean, I know people were refreshing their feeds on Wednesday. They were just waiting to hear about Evanescence.
So many messages being like, hello, guys, I really want to know all these facts. Well,
I can't sleep thinking about Amy Lee. Sorry, guys. I was in Brighton hanging out with my new besties.
You may or may not remember when we joked that Dani was going to... oh my god, Freebird is in my head. That's not one.
No, Baby Reindeer.
Why did I say Freebird? Baby Reindeer, Bayside, and she did.
I mean, I don't even know. It's the wildest story. It's the wildest thing that's ever happened in my entire life. I'm just going to say that. I mean, first of all, when we posted the Bayside episode, Anthony Ranieri, the singer of Bayside, shared it, and I replied to him in the messages, and I was like, thank you. And then I was like, gonna go see you. Haven't seen you since 2006. Gonna go see you next week in Brighton. And he was like, okay, cool. See you there. And I was like, ah, Claire, look at us. We're best friends. And I thought that was the coolest thing that was ever going to happen. But wait, there's more.
You were wrong.
I was wrong. It's very funny. Me and my boyfriend went to Brighton. Bearing in mind, Bayside are his, like, one of 2 of his all-time favourite bands. All time. Anthony Ranieri is his hero. Insane. So when we were over there, he was watching their Instagrams and he was like, oh, they're in Brighton already. Like, wouldn't it be crazy if we bumped into them? And we were like, yeah, imagine, like that. It'll never happen, but that would be wild. So we went to the aquarium and we went for food, and then we were having a drink down by the beach. We were watching their stories, and they had posted at a cafe earlier in the day. They'd posted at a cafe that was 4 minutes from our hotel. And we were like, Jesus, they're so close. Like, this is wild. And we had joked about stalking them, but like, we were literally sitting in a bar having a drink.
Sure.
And it got really cold because we were sitting on the beach. And we were saying, we were like, if you come to Brighton as a tourist, the first thing you're going to do is go to the beach. So we were like, it's likely that we will see them on the beach. So we were kind of watching all the people that went by, and we were like, ooh, that looks like someone. And we were like, nah, it's not. Like, that looks like someone. Nah, it's not. And we were just joking, and I sent a picture of him to Claire being like, doing a baby reindeer in Brighton looking for the band. And we were pure taking the piss, like laughing. And it got cold, so we said, let's go to a different bar. So we had to wander around. There was a bar we wanted to go to. When we got there was not a single person in the place, and it looked dead. So we were like, okay, we won't go in there. And we found another bar called the Mesmerist that looked cool, and it was bigger, and there was like at least one other person there. It was a Monday evening as well, so
yeah, fair. That's fair.
We went in and we were having a drink and we were chatting, and Neil checked his Instagram stories, and one of the guys from the band had posted that he was in bed and was like 24 hours of travel, getting a good night's sleep or something like that. And we were like, oh, we missed them. They've gone to bed. We're chatting away. We're on our like 4th drink at this stage, maybe. And there's a big, massive window behind me. And Neil just goes, Dani, the band are behind you. And I was mid-sentence and I was like, anyway, what did you say? And he was like, they're behind you. The band are outside behind you. And I just went, fuck off. So it was one of those things that like I couldn't look out the window without making it really obvious. So I was trying to just like casually turn around, look down the street, and the whole of Bayside, minus Chris, the drummer, who was in bed, were outside on the street. And we were like, what the fuck? So he was watching them and I was like, what are they doing? And he was like, they're walking by. I was like, okay. Then they got to a point that I could see them, but he couldn't without turning around. Yeah. And he's like, what are they doing? And I was like, so they look like they're reading the menu for this bar, and it looks like maybe they might be thinking about coming into this very bar that we're in. And he was like, no. And I was like, yes, I think they're walking in the door. They're walking in the door. Okay, just be cool. Just be cool. Yeah, just be totally, just so we're just normal people having a drink. So they come in and they order at the bar, and we're both like looking at them, but like pretending like we're not really looking at them. And then Anthony Ranieri walks by our table and sits at the table next to us, like the very next one. and Nick was sitting with his back almost touching my shoulder. It was the most insane thing.
Wait, is that not really weird? Was the bar empty and they're like, we're just going to sit down beside these other
At that stage, like, maybe 2 other tables had filled up.
That's gas.
But it was really quiet. It was a Monday evening. And they just chose the seats beside us. And, like, we couldn't even talk.
You were texting me like, he's right there. And I was like, say something. And you're like, I can't move.
I thought I was going to throw up. Do you ever get such an intense fear that you get tears in your eyes? That happened to me. I had tears in my eyes. I was like, I don't know what to do with myself. Obviously, with that being Neil's favourite band of all time, he was like...
dying.
We're like, will we get another drink? I think we need to get another drink. Okay, we'll just get another drink. Okay, we won't say anything. We have to say something. No, we'll leave it for a minute. We'll have to figure it out.
But
what are we going to do?
How do you say that without them overhearing as well? You have to be like...
Yeah, we were talking really quietly. And to be fair, there was a big group. They had other people with them as well. So they were kind of loud and American. So they were loud. And we were just like, oh, fuck. So... yeah, we ended up getting kind of drunk because we didn't know what to do with ourselves apart from like you were just holding your glass and your hand was shaking. You're like, okay, fuck. And then we were like, okay, when they go to leave, we'll say something, but we don't want to disturb them while they're having a drink.
That's fair.
So when they went to leave, I was like, Neil, go. So he went up to Anthony and he was so fucking cool about it. For someone who was shitting themselves and they were sitting beside me, he was like, oh, hey man, can I just talk to you for a second? Can I just say like, you're one of my favorite fans, blah, blah, blah. And like had a proper chat with him. And I was just sitting at the table being like, how does he do that? So then I had to like get up and around the table, which in itself was an awkward thing. I was like,
oh no,
wait, I want to be involved in this. And I went over and I was just kind of like smiling like a fucking weirdo. Also, at some point throughout the evening, I developed a Jimmy Carr laugh.
Oh no!
I was trying to be normal at the table and I was like, ha, 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 ha. Every time Neil spoke to me. And he was like, why are you laughing like that? And I was like, I don't know. I'm trying to act normal, but it doesn't come naturally to me. And I also kept laughing and like hitting the table every time I laughed. And he's like, why are you hitting the table? I was like, I don't know. So then I was standing there like looking at Anthony and he kind of turned to look at me and I was like, hello. I was like, I'm Dani. And I was like, I was actually funny. I was talking to you the other day on Instagram. We were chatting about, we did that podcast about you. And he was like, oh yeah, thanks a million for that. And I was like, ha. And there was just this pause and I was like, I need to say more words. And I was like, yeah, gonna see you. I haven't seen you since 2006 when you last played in Dublin. And he was like, oh, we never get over there. And I was like, oh, well, you should. And then there was this another pause and I was like, can we get a picture with you? So we got a picture with him.
At least you did that.
And Neil was like, I hadn't even thought about getting a picture because I was freaking out so bad. So he's like, I'm so glad that you said it. And Anthony was like, yeah, sure, absolutely. Like, they were so lovely.
Aww.
We talked to Anthony and Jack O'Shea, who his family are from Cork.
Of course, I knew it!
So when we were talking, he was like, are you from Ireland? And we were like, yeah. And he was like, oh, whereabouts? And Neil said Waterford, because that's where he's from. And Jack goes, I love your crystal. Like, Waterford crystal. And I said, yes, he personally makes it all himself.
Did he get it?
Yeah, they laughed, but I was like, ha, fuck.
That could have gone so wrong.
Oh god, but that was fucking insane. And then we went to the gig. The gig was absolutely incredible. We were literally at the barrier.
Were so close.
We were so close to Anthony that I felt awkward about it. And then at the very end of the gig, he handed me his plaque. Like, everyone put their hands up to get it, and I was like, there had been loads of people moshing behind me and pushing me, and it was roasting hot. So I think as soon as the music ended, I was like, just trying to decompress after it all. And I glanced up and Anthony was like trying to hand me the plaque and I was like, huh? And Neil said, because I don't remember, it was all like blurry because it all happened so fast, but I put both my hands up and grabbed his arm and then ran my hands down his arm and took the plaque. No, I can't. I was like, what are you doing? But it all happened so quickly. Like, I didn't know what was
assaulting his arm.
So needless to say, they took out a restraining order.
And there's a new Netflix documentary coming out about Anthony Stalker next year.
Well, I was thinking about the fact that he shared the episode, and like the little description that he shared said, where we baby reindeer Bayside and talk about how they're the ultimate anti-perverts. That's all Anthony saw of the episode, and he shared that. And he looked me in the eye and he said thank you.
But they probably don't even know what baby reindeer is.
Yes, they do. I think it's massive.
Not in America.
Is it not massive everywhere? No. I don't know. But
they're probably like, here's these absolute freaks.
That was the wildest day of my entire life.
That is gas. That's so funny.
And that's why we're not allowed to go to any more Bayside gigs. But they're really good, so if they're playing near you, you should go. But I'm not allowed.
Oh, so funny. Hilarious. Oh. Anyway, she didn't get him to record the episode.
Yeah.
Intro.
I mean, I was being awkward enough. I couldn't be like, so will you record an intro for our podcast as well?
Yeah. Well, just on that note, do you remember last time we were like, will Claire get Census Fail tickets? Claire got Census Fail tickets!
We're going to Birmingham. Can't wait to baby reindeer Census Fail.
So excited. And then I obviously was a big nerd, and I like replied to her story and was like, oh my god, love you guys so much, haven't seen you since whenever. And I was like, we're going to Birmingham to see you. And it was probably someone who's not in Census Fail that replied, but they're like, wow, thanks so much. I was like,
so we're just in there with all the bands. That's what we're trying to say.
In there. I'm just so excited. Can't wait. Since September?
I think so. Jeez, I don't even know.
I don't know. I think September. Anyway, so
I was just like, yeah, get tickets.
Yeah.
I'll be there.
And then I also went to see Sum 41 on Wednesday.
Their last show.
And I just feel, I was talking to Kilo about it afterwards actually, and I was like, I just feel like I need to redo the episode because I love them now. He was like, yeah, you and Dani didn't really like them from the episode. And I was like, did I not? Like, I think more so I just didn't listen to their albums. But like when they played stuff from the first like 3 albums, oh my god, it was so good. And you could just tell the nostalgia of everyone. There's a group of like 5 lads in front of us who one of them was like, I'm so drunk. And like they were probably a bit older than us, but they'd all bought like the matching merch t-shirts. Aww. And they were so excited. And they all had like their arms around each other like, I was like, these guys are going to remember this for the rest of their lives. They're having
if they remember it at all.
Yeah. And I was saying to Dani, I was spewing my Sum 41 facts to anyone who would listen. I was like, do you know why they're called Sum 41? Do you know Derek nearly died like 3 times? Do you know they slipped a disc in his back? And then I was like, do you see the brown one? And Mary was like, you can't say that. I was like, I can, because he left to form a band called the Brown Brigade, so I can call him that. But Derek looks very skinny. But the energy he was giving for someone so small and skinny, fair play to him. It was a great show. And I'm delighted I got to see them.
It's funny because I didn't go because I didn't care to, but I was like, Jesus, I wouldn't even know any Sum 41 songs. Then I was like, wait a minute, I listened to their entire back catalogue before that episode. Of course I know the songs.
I know, it's funny how you forget everything. You're like, wow, I don't remember anything about this, but no, it was a great gig. So Green Day next. Yay.
My next gig is Movements, which Claire is coming with me.
I'm also coming too, because I will go to anything.
Exciting.
Yeah.
But now that we've chatted for 13 and a half minutes about all of the gigs that we're going to and
you only have enough space on this for 41 minutes.
Cool, so you want to talk
really fast for my 8-page episode. Oh my god.
No pressure.
This is so long. So Evanescence go way back to 1994 when they were formed in Arkansas by lead singer Amy Lee and guitarist Ben Moody. And they met just... can't speak. Oh my god.
It's called Arkansas.
Is it? Is that how you pronounce it? Oh my god, please keep that in. Hey guys, okay, so we had Emirates. And now we have...
Arkansas.
How does that form Arkansas?
I don't know. I didn't invent words.
Arkansas. Okay. Evanescence go way back to 1994 when they're formed in Arkansas by lead singer Amy Lee and guitarist Ben Moody. When they met ages 13 and 14 at a Christian youth camp. Geography is not my strong point, okay? Amy thinks they were drawn together because they both didn't fit in that well and were out of their element at this camp environment. Within a month of meeting, they were playing and working on music in Amy's home and performed in bookstores and coffee houses.
Oh, that's real wholesome.
So wholesome. Because of their limited resources and being so young, the two couldn't really make the music they dreamed of. Strings and choirs and dramatic effects were musical desires they couldn't materialise, so they did their best with a 16-track recorder and fake strings and choirs on Amy's keyboard.
Aww.
So cute.
That just reminds me of my sister used to have a keyboard when we were kids, and there used to be all those demos on
Yeah,
it. You just click the demo button, you'd be like, hey, musician.
It was Amy who had the musical vision for Evanescence, and she wanted to start a band so that she could combine elements that were unlikely. Danny Elfman's film scores were a big influence on her at the time, apparently. So Danny Elfman did Beetlejuice, Edward Scissorhands, and Batman.
Of course.
Amy and Ben experimented with band names, including Childish Intentions. Sounds like kind of like our band name, you know? And
Oh, really? I was thinking it sounded a bit creepy.
well, yeah, whatever. And Stricken, before settling on Evanescence, which means disappearance or fading away, which they thought sounded beautiful and elusive.
They really wanted to be elusive, huh?
Yeah. They recorded 2 EPs. What? They recorded 2 EPs as a duo. Evanescence, which was released in 1998, and only 100 copies were made and sold at their early live performances, and Sound Asleep in 1999, which is also known as the Whisper EP. These demos got them airplay on the local modern rock station and helped them develop a local fan base. And can we just pause to acknowledge how young they are?
Yeah.
Like, so young. They would have only been about like 18 doing all this. So fair play to them. Their local fan base allowed them to start playing a couple of bigger shows and hire other musicians to perform live with them. However, they remained as a duo because Amy said, quote, "It was more because that's what we did and how we worked rather than not wanting any other input. They focused on writing music over live shows." In 2000, they self-released another demo CD called Origin, which they sold at local shows and sent to record labels. These earlier demos contained versions of songs that would later end up on their debut album.
I was going to say, did you hear the EPs? I didn't.
No, I didn't go there.
Okay.
I would also like to say, do you remember when I was like, lol, they only have 3 albums? They actually have like 6.
Yeah.
But I wasn't too far off because
She likes
some of
me.
them don't really count.
Yeah. I only learned that when I was already listening.
Yeah. These earlier... Oh, I said that already. Ben has expressed dissatisfaction with their pre-Fallen material, saying, quote, "What we had in our head was Fallen, although it was a long time ago and we didn't have the technology, so a lot of our early recordings were just shit." But I feel like he's being very harsh on himself here because every band's earlier stuff sounds quite shit, really, because they don't have the resources to make it perfect.
Apart from my chem.
In 2001, they were having their demos mastered at a studio in Memphis when a producer heard it and played them to his friend at Wind Up Records. The head of A&R at Wind Up, Diana Meltzer, which is a great name, said what made her want to sign them was Amy's voice, lyrics, and gothic sound. So the band were signed and flown to New York, where the label said they loved their sound and thought they had potential, but they didn't really know what to do with them. They also apparently told them, "If you were this good while distracted by school and all this other stuff, how good will you be if we put you in an environment where you have nothing to do but write and be influenced by your surroundings, like in Los Angeles?" So they were relocated to Los Angeles, given an apartment and rehearsal space, and enrolled in a gym, which I really hope would help them with for fitness for being on tour and not anything to do with how they looked. And Amy also received lessons from an acting teacher to help her overcome her stage fright, as she was very introverted.
What I'm going to say is, how do we contact Diana Meltzer and ask her for an apartment in LA with all of these things? We could write music.
We totally could. She just needs to, like, not know what to do with us. I feel like we could manage that.
I feel like we give off that vibe. What would I do with
Nobody
them?
knows what to do with us. So this time in Los Angeles stretched to 2 years, with Diana Meltzer explaining in an interview that while Amy and Ben had already exhibited huge talent with their prior demo material, they were still young and she felt they could benefit from more time to work on their debut album so they could, quote, "deliver a breakthrough sound." And I don't know why, but I'm getting real like the Swan vibes from this. Do you remember the Swan TV show?
Is that like where they gave people surgery?
Yeah.
Jesus.
Like, you know, they like locked them away for like ages from their families, and like they weren't allowed to like contact them or anything, and they had to like go on all these mad diets and like change how they looked and everything. I just feel like that's what's happening here.
Okay.
Amy said at the time of signing they didn't realise it would be 2 years in Los Angeles. They thought it would be more like 6 months, and it really frustrated them. The label was apparently apprehensive about the markability of a female-fronted band, so told them to just keep writing songs. Which must be
Lock you in an apartment and be like, just keep writing.
Despite the frustrations, their time in Los Angeles did end up being worthwhile, as they wrote half the album there and were able to make use of all the equipment to get the sound they wanted. And finally, after 2 years, Dave Fortman was brought in to produce it. He has produced albums for bands such as Slipknot, Gobsmack, Snot, and Simple Plan, who seem like the odd one that's out there. However,
I don't know how Snot sound, to be honest.
Remember, I used to always see Snot when you went into like HMV, and they had the band names. Yeah. Or like Saliva, isn't that another one? The label executives at Wind Up refused to release the album unless Amy and Ben agreed to hire. The label executives at Wind Up refused to release the album unless Amy and Ben agreed to hire a full-time male vocalist. Which is just like, what? Why would you sign them in the first place? And you say her vocals are amazing and then just be like, no.
The music industry.
Amy and Ben would not agree to this, and the label said fine and withdrew their funding and released them from their contract, and the pair left Los Angeles and drove back to Arkansas.
Not Arkansas. Different place.
A few weeks later, the label relented and said they released the album, but only if they agreed to have a male rapper on the lead single Bring Me to Life in order to give something familiar to listeners. So I feel like you can't win here because bands are slated if they release something that sounds like everyone else, but then when they try to be different, they're like, no.
Too different. Nobody will know what's going on.
Yeah. So Amy wasn't happy about this naturally, but finally agreed and wrote the part for the male vocal. She originally wanted the lead single to be Going Under, as she thought people would hear the male vocals and Bring Me to Life and think that was the sound of the band.
Which they did.
I thought it was, yeah.
I thought that guy was in the band, even though it said like featuring whatever.
Did it though?
Yeah, I think it did.
Did it? Because I was always very confused then for the rest of the songs. I was like, where's that guy gone? However, people were still receptive to the band when Going Under was released as the second single. The male vocalist on Bring Me to Life is Paul McCoy of the band 12 Stones.
Never heard of him before, never heard of him since. I've only ever heard of him on that one track. He's like your fucking pound shop Mike Shinoda.
Where are you? I know exactly what you mean. Where are you, Paul McCoy?
All of this time, I can't believe I didn't see it.
Kept in the time. Fallen was released in March 2003 and debuted at number 7 on the Billboard 200. It also is apparently the 6th best-selling album of the 21st century, having sold 10 million copies in the US and over 17 million worldwide.
I will say, I forgot how kind of industrial sounding it is. That's the only word I can think of to use it. Because there's not a lot of instruments in it.
No.
Like a rock band.
Yeah.
It's very like... But it's like, sounds like machines.
It's the Yamaha keyboard in the demos.
Yeah, it's just the demos, yeah.
So Amy was the core writer on the album and said most of her writing was inspired by an abusive relationship she was in. The album was labelled as goth and new metal, but both Amy and Ben said they did not consider the music to fit into either genre, attributing the new metal tag to the rap rock of Bring Me to Life, which is probably true. I don't know what new metal is, but...
I don't know. I can't think of anyone that sounds like them, to be fair. I felt like listening to it now, I feel like it's very much a product of its time.
Yeah.
Because I thought I did enjoy it a bit more. Because I used to listen to that album a lot back in the day. Like, I knew it really well.
Yeah.
And then hadn't listened to it in so many years. And I was like, it feels really like one-dimensional or something. It needs instruments to fill it out.
Yeah, I know exactly. It's a bit flat or something.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I used to like sing along to it in my bedroom all the time because I liked singing and I just loved all this Amy Lee stuff. But there's a song on it. Is it... Oh, I can't remember what it's called. Is it Whisper? The one where she's talking about being in the playground. I was like, if my parents were listening to me in my room being like, playgrounds, they're probably like, what is going on?
Well, me and my friends, when Bring Me to Life came out and it was massive, and we weren't into like rock music at all at the time, but that was like in the charts, that was everywhere.
Yeah.
And we really loved that song, so we recreated the video on my mom's staircase with like because in the video when she gets kicked off the window ledge and she falls and they're doing the part where like he's rapping to her as she's like clinging for her life.
Yeah, how weird is that?
We did that on the staircase in my mom's house.
Do you have any videos of this?
It's definitely on a VHS somewhere.
Can't wait.
I was Amy Lee because I had the darkest hair.
Obviously. Who else would you be? Not Paul McCoy. Who ended up being
And I didn't
Paul
have
McCoy?
like a white little night dress, so I just wore like a white t-shirt belongs to my dad. Paul McCoy was Louise Finn. Cut this out.
Oh my god. I should have guessed that. Stop. Evanescence music was initially promoted by their label in the Christian market, but Amy and Ben publicly made it clear in an interview a month after the album's release that they were not a Christian band or Christian rock. In what seems like a bizarre move, Wind Up Records chairman Alan Meltzer, who obviously must be related to Diana Meltzer, unless there's just so many Meltzers rocking around. He sent a letter to Christian radio stations and retail outlets saying, quote, "Despite the spiritual underpinning that ignited interest and excitement in the Christian religious community, Evanescence were a secular band and viewed their music as entertainment, and the label then strongly feels that they no longer belong in Christian retail outlets. They then formally requested a recall of Fallen from Christian retailers and radio stations." After receiving the letter, many Christian radio stations pulled Fallen from their playlists, which just seems so odd. Like, why would you go out of your way to pull it from stations?
Yeah, isn't the record label's job like to get your music out there?
Yeah, exactly.
Don't they want the money? Like, why are you trying to...
Yeah, like they're shooting themselves in the foot. Like, if they don't want to play it, they don't want to play it. But don't actively be like, don't play this.
You probably don't want to play this.
Yeah. So to understand a bit about this move, we need to look at the label's previous offerings. So Rolling Stone magazine in April 2003, the same month Amy and Ben gave the interview about not being a Christian band, stated that while Wind Up Records had no official Christian affiliation, they, quote, began courting the Christian music market more than a year ago, making its first foray with 12 Stones' self-titled 2002 debut. 12 Stones being the band whose lead singer is on Bring Me to Life. Mm-hmm. So Wind Up then linked up with Provident, which was apparently a powerhouse Christian music distributor, and then the label attempted to tap into a segment that generated sales of more than 50 million albums in 2002. So essentially, by making Evanescence out to be a Christian band, they hoped they'd sell more albums. The CEO of Providence said that Wind Up recalling the album would likely not hurt the label's image in the Christian market, but he was apparently puzzled by Evanescence's seemingly change of heart, saying they clearly understood the album would be sold in these Christian music channels. Meltzer, don't know which one, said the decision to promote the band as Christian was made with the band's consent, but Amy has said she has always opposed this. Interestingly, Ben actually supported it and has in the past misrepresented Evanescence, discussing his religious beliefs as if they were Evanescence's.
So he was religious, was he?
Yeah.
Okay.
But like, why talk about it at all? Like, just avoid this whole problem by just not saying anything about
just don't mention it.
Bloody religion.
But we are a Christian podcast, just by the way.
Just so you know, in case the name of the father and According to Wind Up Records, when Bring Me to Life was introduced to radio programmers rejected it, saying, "A chick and a piano? Are you kidding? On rock radio?"
Oh my god, that's like crazy.
Like, that's like so not cool. And claimed some turned it off after hearing the female voice and piano at the start of the song without listening to the rest. And I just feel this could be like Wind Up Records like exaggerating a bit. Because, I don't know, I feel like that song was very successful.
Yeah.
And also, like, weren't Nightwish and all out around this time?
Oh, yeah, probably. See, I never listened to them, so I don't know how similar they are. But, yeah, female singer rock band.
Yeah.
With the vocals.
And Within Temptation, they're the other ones.
Yes.
But they said that it was only after the song was released as part of the Daredevil soundtrack that people actually began requesting it on the radio. And that's how it got really popular. So before that, it wasn't really. And then Daredevil, which I didn't realise was so popular.
I don't think Daredevil was a box office hit, like,
no,
to be fair to it.
He was in that one, Ben Affleck.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Sad Ben Affleck.
Every time I go on to, like, the Daily Mail or something, they're like, Ben Affleck looks really sad getting his coffee. I'm like, I think that's just his face. Like, I don't think he's always sad.
I'd be sad if I had that giant phoenix tattooed on my back. It's really bad.
Midlife crisis. Due to the success of the song, Evanescence embarked on their first headlining tour from April to May of that year in the US and Europe in the months after that. The second single, Going Under, was released in August and peaked at number 8 on the UK singles chart. Amy said the rapid success after the album's release saw them going from playing club shows to arenas in 2 months, which must be quite scary.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Especially if she was introverted.
Yeah.
And had stage fright.
Ben made a few awkward comments in interviews at this time, saying that Evanescence was just Amy and himself and he wanted to keep it that way. He then said he'd like their tour drummer, Rocky Gray, to play on their next album, but didn't need the other tour players. That's so awkward.
He's a weird guy by the sound of everything you've said so far.
Yeah. And then in October 2003, just 7 months after their debut album's release, Ben left the band, citing creative differences. Amy got a call from their manager asking her to beg him to stay, to which she said, "That's exactly what he wants me to do." She said if he is going to leave, the band would appreciate it if he'd wait until the end of the tour. But if he can't, then go ahead and go. So he went, and the band improvised and performed as a foursome so that they wouldn't have to cancel a show, which is pretty cool. Apparently there'd been tension for months, with Ben's negativity making everyone around him miserable. She said the band was at breaking point and his departure was a relief.
Told you he was a weirdo.
Mm-hmm. She claimed her and Ben had not been friends since their teenage years, and they pretended to be friends when they were really only business partners. They never sat down and wrote together, instead writing music by themselves and then combining their retrospective parts, which is bananas. They basically like one went into one room, the other went into the other room, and then we're like, here you go.
I mean, it's kind of like us. Like, we started out as friends, and now this is just co-hosts.
Business partners. Ben supposedly had a strict approach to songwriting and focused more on commerciality. Amy said at one point all her piano playing rights were stripped from her because Ben felt she was getting too much attention and they hired a keyboard player instead. Typical man, hating the woman, getting all the attention.
I know why his name is Ben Moody. Am I right?
However, years later in 2010, Ben released a statement about his time in Evanescence in which he acknowledged that he was a different person at the time, suffering from substance abuse, and his friendship with Amy had deteriorated. He apologised for comments he made to her in anger and said he realised if he'd stayed, the band would have ended, and he believes he made the right choice. He's hardly going to be like, damn it, I regret that.
Well, I mean, I didn't know how many albums they had, because they kind of did disappear after the first.
Oh, I thought they disappeared, yeah.
So, you know, it's not like they went on to be the biggest band in the world, and then you'd be like, shit.
That's true. That's true.
They're still going, though, so fair play.
They're still going. Ben was replaced by former Cold guitarist Terry Balsamo. The band continued to play several shows throughout Europe with Korn and released their third single, My Immortal, in December 2003.
That is a devastating song now, to be fair.
Oh God, like, it's just so sad.
Yeah. I even remember, like, when it came out, and I was obviously 13 at the time. And I was just like, Jesus, if you want to put on a song to break your heart now.
Again, I just remember being in my bedroom. My parents were like, here she goes again. So the tour for Fallen finished early in 2004, and Amy and new guitarist Terry started writing for Evanescence's second album. Amy had full creative control of this record and incorporated elements such as classical, symphonic metal, progressive rock, and the use of choirs. The album was written over the course of 18 months, but production was delayed due to Terry having a stroke.
Jesus!
Yeah. In October of 2005, 2 days after finishing his guitar parts, Terry suffered a stroke due to a torn neck artery, leaving the side of his body paralysed.
Ow.
Doctors,
Torn artery. I've never heard of that before.
Wait for this, though. Doctors said it was caused by a blood clot in his neck, possibly due to him headbanging on stage and forming an aneurysm.
Take care of yourselves, guys.
Don't be doing too much of that headbanging.
We're too old for mosh pits now.
Yeah, really. Like, it's just my back hurts when I go to these gigs and I can't be headbanging. They did not think he would be able to play guitar again. However, Terry was determined and began physical therapy and retraining his hand to play. Amy said that his stroke was the most difficult part of the process. I'm like, duh.
What?
No shit, Amy. God's sake, Amy.
I mean, the stroke was bad, but coming up with the lyrics.
Coming up with a name for that album was just...
Fuck me.
But she said that everything that happened became fuel and inspiration for the album and resulted in a really special record. The album title, The Open Door, alludes to how Amy felt she had the ability to do a lot of things now she couldn't. What? Let's say that again. This is where commas come in handy. The album title, The Open Door, alludes to how Amy felt she had the ability to do a lot of things now she couldn't do before, and a lot of doors had been opened in her life. Amy and Terry co-composed 9 of the songs, and Amy said that he was open-minded, supported her work, and encouraged her to do something she would not have previously been able to do.
That was a dig at Ben, if ever there was one. But also, I didn't think this album strayed too far from the first one. I thought they were very similar, and listening to them back to back, it got very samey, and I was very like, okay, I get it. Woman wailing with piano in the background and we're sad. Like, I get it.
I think this album was a bit more self-indulgent. Like, I think it was a bit more Amy. Like, a bit more like me. Me. Which,
yeah, that's fair. To be fair, like, I don't think I'll ever put them on again. I didn't really enjoy listening to them.
Yeah.
But I am reading the Akatar books, which are like fantasy books, and that in the background when you're listening, when you're reading, I was like, kind of works.
So I would actually now and again put on Fallen. I would not put on The Open Door. I would listen to 1 or 2 songs on it, but I wouldn't listen to the whole thing ever.
It's a lot.
The record was produced and mixed by Dave Fortman again, with her old friend DJ Lethal programming on every song. Songs from this album include Sweet Sacrifice, which is again about recovery from her abusive relationship. Call Me When You're Sober is about her relationship with Seether frontman Sean Morgan.
Oh, is that why they did that song together?
They did that obviously before they broke up.
Yeah.
Yeah, because they're going out together, yeah.
I always liked that song.
I love that song. Another one I used to wail to in my bedroom. Weight of the World is about the pressures of fame, and Lithium, which is about the choice between the comfort of sorrow and the possibility of happiness.
Wow.
Amy wrote the chorus for Lithium when she was just 16 years old.
Wow.
And there's lots of stuff here I didn't know. The first song written for the album was Snow White Queen, which details Amy's experience with stalkers, and knowing that when you read the lyrics, it's really a scary song.
Oh.
I can't remember any of them now, but it's very terrifying. The song Like You is about her little sister that died when she was 3 years old and Amy was 6 from an unidentified illness.
Jesus.
And the song Hello, that's the one about the playground, Hello. The song Hello from Fallen is also about her, which puts the song in a different light, especially seeing as I was in my bedroom going, hello! From the playground and beyond the grave. The lead single from the album, Call Me When You're Sober, was released in July 2006, with the full album released in autumn that same year. The album debuted at number 1 in the US, Australia, Germany and Switzerland. Critics praised the Ben Free record, saying that the Open Door was everything you could want in a follow-up album and more.
It was a lot less moody. No, it's probably moodier now, to be
I
fair.
actually probably was moodier, yeah. The New York Times wrote that is, quote, no surprise that after Ben's departure, Evanescence sounds gloomier and thornier than the old one, with Amy finally free to be as bombastic as she wants to be, although they also said the album is less fun. And
What do we call it? Bombastic? I feel like that's a stretch.
I don't think, like, any of the themes on Fallen were fun either, but, like, you get what they mean. In a 2021 retrospective, Metal Hammer ranked The Open Door as the band's best album. Wouldn't have said that now. The album has been certified double platinum by both Canada and Australia.
There you go.
So touring for the album was obviously slightly delayed due to Terry's stroke. God, Terry.
He is so inconvenient.
So selfish. Like, come on. Amy didn't want to hire another guitarist, as so much of Terry's heart went into the album she didn't think would be right to go without him.
That's nice.
That's nice. Terry and their other guitarist, John Lecomte, worked it out as to who was going to play what and what was going to be the best for Terry. A month after touring began, he stated that he still had paralysis in his left arm and hand, and he was at the stage where he can get by on tour. The knowledge of guitar playing was still there, he noted, and his mind would tell his hand what it should do, but his hand wouldn't do it, which must be so frustrating.
I mean, a wild situation to be like, well, let's just go on tour. My mind will figure it out.
My hand mightn't agree, but we'll get there.
But I know what to do. Just might not happen.
The band toured Canada, North America, South America and Europe at various times during 2007, with their last show to promote the album being in Rhode Island in December of that year. The tour was not without its drama though, as in May 2007, guitarist John Lecomte announced that he had been fired from the band and also stated that the drummer, Rocky Gray, had decided to quit. Former keyboardist for the band, David Hodges, slammed the pair, stating that the only thing I would have done differently than Amy in the last 2 years is distance myself sooner from them.
Jesus. This is a very toxic work environment.
Isn't it? Amy said Lecomte and Gray had joined as tour players after Fallen and had been treated as full-time members with their photos on album images, but when it came to the second album, herself and Terry had tried writing with them, but they were ultimately not compatible. They apparently disliked the music, were vocal about not caring about the band, and that they stayed around just for the money.
Wow.
This only got 16 minutes left on it.
I know, I'll figure it out then.
Okay. Lecomte commented on his stint with the band in 2010, saying, quote, Evanescence was so big and important to my career and my life, so I look back on it with fondness. We left the band, but that doesn't say anything about my time in the band. For the remainder of the tour in 2007, former Dark New Day members Will Hunt and Troy McLawhorn, what a name, joined the band.
Marry me.
Johnny McLawhorn.
It's got a ring.
After this tour, Amy took a break for about 18 months away from the industry. During this time period, she apparently spent her days painting and learning how to play the harp. And I just imagine
standard.
her like some like cottage in a forest, like with like animals around her, and she's like learning how to play a harp. Like, yeah.
We've all been there.
I've lost midlife crisis. She began to write music again at the beginning of 2009. She wrote a song with Will Hunt that was in an electronic direction and decided to bring some of the sound onto the next album. Producer Steve Lillywhite, who has collaborated with mega bands such as Simple Minds, The Rolling Stones and Counting Crows, contacted Wind Up Records wanting to work with Amy. and she spent the early sessions for this album in the studio with him. Inspiration for the album came from artists such as Bjork and Nine Inch Nails, and music with a lot of programming. In March 2010, Amy posted 2 audio clips from recording sessions on her Twitter and said they were working on about 16 songs. However, a few months later, they announced they had suspended recording to continue work on the album and get our heads into the right creative space. Wind Up Records were also experiencing, quote, uncertain times, which would delay the album release further. Awkwardly, they came to realise that Steve Lillywhite just wasn't the right fit for the band, and some of the songs recorded were more suited to a solo project. So they went back to the drawing board and began to work more together as a band, writing collectively. Which is so awkward. Imagine being like, I really want to work with this band. And then being like,
yeah, we don't really like what you're doing.
Like your style. So writing as a band collectively was a first for Evanescence, as previously Amy had always just written the music by herself or with one other person, and then getting other people to come in and just play it rather than contribute to it. They then went back to the studio, this time with producer Nick Raskulin.
Yeah, good look at that one.
Yeah. Who had worked at bands such as Trivium and Korn and began recording in April 2011. The album is self-titled, with Amy saying that despite many ideas being thrown around, calling it simply Evanescence just felt right, as the record was about the band and who they are. In contrast to the previous 2 albums, the cover art does not feature Amy. Again, she stated that the record was more about Evanescence itself and not just about her. It was finally released in October 2011. Most critics praised it for the songwriting experimentation, but some, like always, said they preferred their previous records. So I had not listened to this until this episode, and I was feeling it.
I was feeling it as well.
Song, I was like,
yeah, I put it because I'd really gotten bored of the like moany pianos of the other 2, and I put this on. I was like, oh, okay, what's going on here now?
The first song is it What You Want, and I was like,
I can't name any of the songs, but I know I listened to it and I was like, a few bops on this.
Yeah, I really liked it.
Because it had a different sound altogether.
And I really got the whole band vibe. Yeah, I liked it. I'd go back to it now. Some other people must have enjoyed it too because it debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200. It did sell less than their previous albums, but still ended up being certified gold in America, the UK and Canada. The tour began in August 2011 in North America before travelling to Europe. And I was just thinking, have they ever played Ireland? Because I feel like if they had, I would have gone.
So I feel like I've never heard of anyone going to go see them.
I tried to Google it and I couldn't find anything saying they'd actually ever played here. So why not Evanescence? Hello. Come back here, do some sort of anniversary tour. But anyway, throughout 2011 to 2012, they toured literally everywhere but Ireland, going to Europe, Asia, Australia, New Zealand, Africa, South America and the Middle East before ending in November with a series of shows in the UK. The band then planned to take an extended break because I imagine you get super tired and fed up playing shows for 1 whole year. Imagine doing the same show for 1 whole year. In October 2013, Wind Up Records sold their back catalogue of artists, including Evanescence and their master recordings, to Bicycle Music Company. A few months later, Amy filed a lawsuit against Wind Up Records, seeking $1.5 million in unpaid royalties.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
The lawsuit was settled, but only after Amy signed a non-disclosure agreement. Not surprisingly, in 2014, the band announced they had been released from their contract and were independent artists. The following year, long-term guitarist Terry left the band. He was replaced by female German guitarist Jen Majura.
Up the girls.
Yes. However, Amy was focused on solo projects at this time and had no plans for new Evanescence music, but they continued to tour throughout 2015 and 2016. To satisfy people who wanted a new record, they released a 6 LP vinyl box set called The Ultimate Collection, which had all 3 studio albums, their unreleased demo album from 2000, and the Lost Whispers album, which is a compilation of B-sides and rarities, which I did not listen to.
So I listened to Lost Whispers because it's on Spotify, and I thought it was another album. And I was a good halfway through. It's really long as well. I was about halfway through it, and then I can't remember what song it was, but it was like one of the singles, like Going Under or something came on, and I was like, what the fuck? Yeah. Why am I listening to a single on this album? And then I googled it and I found out that it was just like B-sides. Reworkings and stuff like that. And I hated it. They had loads of songs of theirs. I don't know if they're from other albums or because I don't know the songs enough. But they had like put it to like classical music that you would know. Like it would start off. Are you sure we're not
talking about the next album?
Am I?
I think you might be.
No, Lost Whispers. I'm sure I heard of Lost Whispers.
Since this is one where they just basically literally picked out all their old songs and played it with orchestras.
Well, that does sound like what I'm talking about. But I literally remembered looking at the name.
I don't know because I didn't listen
What
to
is
it.
What is the next one called?
Synthesis. Can't say
No,
that word.
it is Lost Whispers had like loads of weird shit. But it was I don't know classical music, but like just it's like a piece that you would have heard in
I
a
know what you
movie
mean. Yeah,
by
yeah.
Mozart. And
Yeah.
it's like that comes on and then it launches into an Evanescence. And I was like, what?
No.
It's very self-indulgent and it's very fucking annoying. As soon as I found out it was a reworkings album, I actually just turned it off because I was like, I don't need to listen to this.
I didn't even go there. I was like, oh no, it's this. Because when I looked up originally, I was like, there's no way they have this many albums. I thought they only had 3. And then I was like, you don't really count these.
Yeah, well, see, I do no research before the episode because I want to be surprised. So that's how I ended up
Surprise!
listening to Lost Whispers. Don't recommend.
9 minutes.
We're fine.
In February 2017, they confirmed they were working in the studio. Amy said in a Metal Hammer interview that the album was, quote, something unique, something complex, something a little bit beyond that, and it's definitely new territory for all of us. They intended to release the album later that same year. In a Facebook post, Evanescence revealed the new album would be called oh my god, I can't say that word. And there was so much pressure coming up to that to pronounce it right, and I didn't do it. I'm a lisp, guys. Synthesis. And would be about orchestra and electronica. They essentially went back through their back catalogue and picked songs that were meant to be heard in this way, and the traditional rock instruments were replaced with an orchestra and electronic sounds.
Didn't like that either.
Didn't like it either. They said the album was not a remix album, but a reworked album. It also had 2 new original songs. It was released in November 2017 through BMG Rights Management. The word thrown around by most critics was ambitious, but it was met with mostly positive reviews who complimented Amy's voice in particular. The New Zealand Herald, however, found it, quote, weird and largely unnecessary, believing that stripping it down and reworking it removed the nostalgia that made Evanescence stand out in the early days. Which I agree with. Self-indulgent was
No need.
No need. Amy did say that this was one of the things she was most scared about, that she was essentially taking the songs that made them popular with fans and changing them, but it managed to debut at number 8 in the Billboard 200 charts. Evanescence then embarked on a, can't say that word, Synthesis live tour, during which they were accompanied on stage by a different 28-piece orchestra in every city, which I think is so cool.
It's pretty cool.
The tour received critical acclaim and travelled across North America, Canada, Australia and Europe before going back to North America, which sounds like it is just the most stressful thing ever for a tour organiser, coming up with an orchestra in every city across all these places and having to make sure like everyone's there at the same time, they're all practiced together and like sound checks and no, don't think so.
Yeah, like it's kind of like wasn't it Bayside that did that where they had a different band support them and everything?
Yeah.
But like the band kind of has to get themselves together, where an orchestra is so much bigger, and has to be conducted and everything. That sounds like a lot.
Like doing
a lot more
that
stressful
across like all the places they did across like. Ooh. So the focus for the next few years was on touring, but Amy did say in an interview in 2018 that the band did have plans to release another album. So once the live tour was finished, they did a few dates returning to their rock band configuration around the US. Former guitarist Terry also performed with the band again for one of their songs during this tour. That same month, Amy was quoted as saying that they had plans to release their album in 2020 and said it was dark and heavy. It's also got moments of weird and sparse. Definitely some Open Door vibes, but not the same.
Sorry, what is a moment of sparse? It's not even English.
What is that? A moment of, I don't know, space, silence.
Yeah, but sparse doesn't make any sense.
No. They entered the studio in 2020 with Nick, what's-his-face again, to work on 3 heavy songs. They planned to work on a few songs with one producer, then do another few with another producer, and so on and so forth, but the plan was scrapped thanks to COVID, and Nick ended up being the album's sole producer. So, sounds like it was a cool idea.
I don't know, I feel like it's going to sound really convoluted then. It's not going to sound cohesive.
Yeah, also stressful.
Very sparse.
Just a moment of sparse, though?
Yeah,
not like a whole album of sparse. The album title was announced as The Bitter Truth, and the first single was released in April 2020. The full album release was delayed until March 2021 and featured songs that were actually written for their 2011 self-titled album, but they were reworked a decade later, which I think is pretty cool. They didn't waste them. Did you like the album?
No.
Yeah.
The third album was the only one that stood out to me,
yeah.
and then the rest were all very samey, I thought.
Yeah. Like, I didn't mind this one, but there was a lot of ones I kind of skipped. I was like, don't like this. The song Use My Voice, which I really didn't like.
I don't remember which one that was.
It was released as the third single and featured vocals from other musicians, such as Taylor Momsen, Sharon Den Adel from Within Temptation, as well as some of Amy's personal friends and family members.
Kind of a cool idea though, especially when it's called Use My Voice.
Yeah.
To get different voices in, but I don't remember the song, so.
They used it for some sort of campaign, like election campaign or something, or like getting people to vote or something in America. So the first thing that inspired Amy for this song was a moment during the Stanford University sexual assault cases trial in which one of the victims said to her abuser the only thing he could not take away was her voice. This album received a ton of praise, with people saying it was the most fierce Evanescence album to date, reminiscent of the band's older material, but also entirely fresh. Doesn't make any sense. We're gone.
Continue our venture.
They had also announced a joint European tour with Within Temptation for April 2020, but then COVID came and ruined lives, resulting in the tour being postponed until September 2020, and then again to September 2021. It's rescheduled a third time to March 2022, before finally actually beginning in November 2022. I'd be so annoyed if I had tickets to that. I'd be like, come on, guys.
Within Temptation, now to be fair, as I said, I'd never really listened to them.
They have that one song.
From what I know about them, they're very similar to go on tour together. Are they not very alike?
Within Temptation are a bit heavier. I feel like it was cool to like Within Temptation. It was not cool to like Evanescence.
Okay.
You know?
I feel that.
In February 2022, Bring Me to Life's music video reached 1 million streams on YouTube. The summer of that year, the band announced guitarist Jen Majura would be leaving, with Tim McCord switching from bass to guitar and Emma Anzai from the band Sick Puppies joining as their new bassist.
I like that they're keeping with bringing more girls in.
Yeah, it's cool. Yeah. So since then, the band have continued to tour and play different festivals, including Download Festival, which Metal Hammer described as one of the 20 greatest Download festival sets ever.
I don't know how I feel about that.
I can't really comment because I've never seen them.
I know, but they're not exactly a band that I'm like, oh, I'd love to see them live. I bet they do an unreal show.
Yeah. I just don't hear much about them, do you?
Just kind of like rock back and forth and have a little cry.
No, sorry. Can you not imagine yourself in the middle of Download, probably pissing rain and going, how can you see?
Yeah. Making like mud angels.
Yeah. You can wear that your dad's white t-shirt again. And, like, hang from the...
Did you see everyone posting about Download this year?
Download?
It actually looked vile.
It looked awful. The
closer it got to Download coming, I was getting really serious FOMO, because there was a good few bands that I would have liked to see, and out of the festivals this year, it's the one that stood out that I'd like to go to the most. Seeing the footage, I was like, absolutely not.
I honestly would have left. Like, I do not think there's a band there. What band would have had to make me stay? Linkin Park with Chester Bennington. That's the only reason I'd say it.
Like, seeing them wading through the mud and how thick and
like people just looked miserable. Like, you couldn't enjoy it.
No.
I'd be like, I'm so sad the whole time.
Yeah, I'm sad, I'm cold, and I want to go home.
Yeah. So that's it for Evanescence and where they are at the moment. Yeah. Did you enjoy listening to them? Yeah, okay.
It went with my book, is what I'll say. And the third album had a few bops.
I like their backstory, though. I think I like Amy. Like, I have respect for her to get to where she's like gotten to, and to like stand up for herself. She's female, and fair play to her. Yeah. Not a whole lot of controversy. No perverts. Good. You'd be glad to know. Well,
Amy is a massive pervert.
Well, no, I might have spoke too soon.
Actually, I joke about Amy being the massive pervert, but I saw a thread on Twitter yesterday, and it was about Katy Perry being a massive pervert.
Oh.
And all these like times that she grabbed Justin Bieber's arse at like on a red carpet or something, when he was a child, and there was all these pictures and videos of all these weird times she's groped men.
Oh.
Without consent.
I wouldn't have said that about her.
Yeah. So there you go.
Whatever.
Women can be perverts too. She's cancelled.
Well, I just had to include this because I think it's so typical of the time and the place. But a lawsuit was filed against Walmart in 2004 because they promote a policy of selling only CDs that do not warrant parental advisory stickers, but sold Evanescence's live album Anywhere But Home, which features a cover of the Korn song Thoughtless, which contains the F word.
Not the F word.
The lawsuit was filed by parents of a 7 and 13-year-old child who stated Walmart's campaign was deceptive as this disc was not stickered. Would you be bothered?
Absolutely fucking not.
Also, why are you buying your 7-year-old an Evanescence CD?
Because the 7-year-old obviously rocks.
But like, come on. Imagine being like, we're going to sue Walmart. Oh, please.
It's like, my child is 6, and like, you know, if sometimes she hears the F word in songs that I listen to, and she'll always be like, oh, Mom! And I'm like, yeah, I know, you'll hear it. It doesn't mean you have to use it. Like,
my dad bought me, was it the Bloodhound Gang song on cassette tape? Do you know that song?
Yeah.
It's really
inappropriate.
Yeah. And I wouldn't have been 7. I'd say I was like 14 maybe. But like...
That's why you're a sexual pervert now.
Like, I don't know. Anyway, and in another bizarre story, Amy Lee faced some serious allegations from the internet hacking group known as Anonymous. Did I say that wrong?
You said it wrong.
I can't say these words. I can't. Okay, so let's add this to the list. Arkansas. Oh my God, Arkansas. Synthesis and Anonymous.
Yeah.
Beautiful. Yeah. In 2012, the group accused her of preventing a witness from reporting child pornography and other online offences.
What?
Mm-hmm. The hacking group had launched an operation called Operation Pedo Chat.
Ooh, good pseudonym. No one will know what's going on.
But I mean, like, we could give them a few names to look at. And it aimed to uncover nefarious online activity and listed Amy and her manager on their list of targets. The allegations involved oh my God, I cannot speak. The allegations involved the Evanescence fan forum EvThreads, and they were made in the House of Commons by Liberal Democrat MP John Hemming. Hemming alleged that Amy's lawyers had forced Sam Smith, not the Sam Smith, or maybe it was, who was a user on EvThreads, to sign a contract that prevented him from reporting a number of offences on the site. These apparently included the publication of a series of indecent sexual images. The allegations resulted in the closure of EvThreads, but nothing more than that, it seems. Everyone on the internet seemed as confused as I was about this, and most people seemed to think someone basically trolled the message board and posted child porn and told some people to go kill themselves because the allegations included the words, attempt to procure the suicide of a teenager. I'm like, that's it. Then it just doesn't mention anything else. Like, if you look this up, there's all this thing being like, internet hackers, Amy Lee, forced some kid to sign some non-disclosure agreement, and then nothing.
Weird.
Bananas.
I wouldn't say she personally.
No, I'd say she had
absolutely
nothing to do with it. And it's just
yeah.
because it happens to be her, whatever. But like, well done for like no controversy, shall we say?
We'll just forget that controversy and pretend there's no controversy.
Exactly.
Yeah, I wouldn't count that, to be fair.
Oh, I need to find my song because I always forget. My songs are on the same album, would you believe?
Mine are not.
What is your... I didn't go for the obvious one. Imagine I said Bring Me to Life.
Do you know what? That song is quite overplayed. I wasn't looking forward to listen to it again. Like, there was a little part that I was like, oh, bit of nostalgia, and then it started and I was like,
yeah,
I've heard this song 8 million times. To be fair, I thought that about the album. I was like, I've listened to this so many times.
Yeah.
And then when I listened to it, I was like, oh, web player. Shit. Why is Spotify being weird today? Sorry, do you want to say your song?
Yeah, so my song on repeat is from their self-titled album, and it's called Erase This. You probably don't remember that one, but it's got this absolute bop at the start where it's like
Is that not the fucking Crazy Frog? Bing, bing, bing.
We'll talk about throwback. No, we'll play it on our little playlist and you'll know.
I will know. Can I say the whole Lost Whispers album, which I accidentally listened to? Cause
no, this is your song on repeat.
Oh, sorry. I was thinking of song skip.
You don't want to repeat that?
No. My song on repeat actually is Call Me When You're Sober. Because I didn't think I loved that song. And okay, love is probably an overstatement. But it's been in my head since I started listening to Evanescence. Mm-hmm. And I do like when it kicks in. And it gets real like, you never call me when... Yeah, so that's my song on repeat.
Uh-huh.
And my song skip is the whole fucking Lost Whispers album, whatever that is.
My song skip is also on self-titled album and it's called Swimming Home. Yeah, it honestly sounds like a Girls Aloud song.
Oh?
I put it on and I was like, what the hell is this? If you listen to the lyrics and all, it could have been Nadine Coyle. So So definitely skip that one.
Well, we had an interesting chat today about religion and music, which leads us nicely into the bands that I'm going to do.
Is it Under Us?
It is Under Us.
Hey!
Got it in one. Got it in one.
No, but no, Dani, because they have so many albums.
They do. That they do.
No.
But listen, all the bands at this stage have so many albums because we've done all the ones that don't have that many. But at least they're enjoyable.
Okay.
I haven't started listening to them yet, but I've started
Actually,
writing
to be
the
fair,
episode.
at least it's your episode and I don't have to write about them, so that's fine.
Yeah, you just need to listen.
Yeah, I can do that.
So that's all you're listening to for the next 2 weeks.
I'm okay with that. 3 weeks probably, but
Probably. At this rate, it's okay.
Oh my god! I started to speak and I died. Wait, I'm still doing. Okay, thanks guys. Thanks so
If you
much.
want to find out more about our little trips and our trips to gigs and everything that's going on with us, you should follow us on social media. We are Foundations of Emo on Instagram and TikTok, and we're Foundations Emo on X.
Just to say, we love everyone that interacts with us. It's so cute and it makes us feel so wholesome. And thank you so much for listening to us talk shite about bands.
I mean, you're no Anthony Ranieri, but you'll do.
Because I think we were in work, and when he liked the thing, I literally took a photo of my watch because it came up on my watch being like, Anthony Ranieri, you liked your post. I was like, Dani!
You were like, he replied to you? I was like, yes. Standard.
Yeah, we're mates, obviously. Anyway, thanks so much,
listening.
guys. Bye!